Peace, fam. So, welcome to the channel. It's Randy Harlequin. We're going to talk about how to free yourself from society, right? So many people live, especially in the age of social media, a lot of people live to, try to find their place in society. And I'm going to tell you guys why that's a problem. You shouldn't be trying to find your place or try to find where you fit in or be so consumed with what everybody else is going on with different groups and cliques, what other people have going on, and how you're going to get to a point of being self-validated, of affirming yourself, which is the key. Now, I came across this on my journey, right? When I was struggling to find myself, right? When in my early mid 20s, right? And I realized, I found myself kind of being around kind of everybody, right? All different type of groups, all different kind of people, races, everything, right? And I noticed people do that. A lot of people, they validate themselves through other people or through other groups. They validate themselves through being liked or accepted by certain groups of people, and that gives them a sense of self-esteem, right? And I feel like that was a problem because when your value is predicated on being accepted by some group, now that leaves you vulnerable. What if that group decide one day they don't want to deal with you? What if they reject you? Just like any other relationship, just like how you see people get married, right? And they have a divorce. Some people, I heard stories about certain men with their wives cheating on them and they jump overboard somewhere and they end their life. Or, somebody loses a job and the same thing happens. Your value and how you see yourself can't be based off of how other people see you or if other people accept you or if other people like you. Now, the difficult part about this is, without even realizing at first, this is extremely rare. Like what I did, right, where I got to a point where I found myself and I found my value outside of what anybody else sees or what anybody else thinks, outside of being accepted or belonging to any group. That's extremely rare because a lot of people they seek validation from people, and they think if people don't accept them, if people don't see them a certain way, then they must not be valuable or important or just beautiful. You know what I'm saying? Just as a human being, they must not be valuable as a human, right? It's very rare to get to that point. So I grew up as being an only child, right? In my household, in my family. So naturally, when you out in the world as an only child, you want to connect, you want to meet people, right? Because you don't have siblings. So sometimes the relationships that you build with friends around you, they could be very similar to like having siblings. So you can grow to be kind of attached to people in a certain way, or I don't want to say attached, but have a strong connection, right? You build to have a really strong connection with people because you kind of yearn for that. You kind of look for that, right? Because you lacked it in the household in your immediate family environment. So those relationships could be very I want to say basically family related, right? It's almost like you have siblings, right? Non-blood relatives, right? So what I noticed, I kind of fell into that trap of where I wanted to fit in. I wanted to belong because you wanna find a clique. You wanna feel like you belong somewhere, especially when you see so many groups and people clicking up and going places and doing certain things and having fun, especially when you're in high school, when you're in college. And I found that in sports. I found that in track and field. I ran track. Well, I first played basketball like my freshman and junior year, my freshman and sophomore year. Then I ran track for my later years, and then all type of stuff, all kind of clubs. And I'm an actor too, so I found that connection through meeting people through the arts, right? And acting classes and working and being on sets. You want to connect, and there's nothing wrong with connecting with people. I'm saying when your self-value is based off of being accepted by these people. That's the problem. There's nothing wrong with connecting with people. It's a problem when your whole like self-esteem is in the palm of other people's hand in whether they like you or not or accept you or not. That's the issue, right? And people fall into that. A lot of people fall into that. Um, And I realized this because I experienced both. I experienced being belonging and accepted to certain groups, and then other people will look at you like there'll be random people. Sometimes I'll be in a group and somebody will tell me, "Yo, such and so said they don't like you," and it doesn't make any sense. Some people won't like you for no reason. A lot of times it has nothing to do with you, but when you're operating in your truth as a person, sometimes you don't even realize it. You're just being yourself. Things about you might rub people off a certain way, but it's not necessarily you. Is that they have inner insecurities and traumas within themselves that you may trigger because you may be displaying certain qualities that they wish they had, or that represent maybe a family member, maybe somebody that hurt them in the past, and you resemble that person based off of some of the qualities that you have. So they'll despise you for it, or or you'll cause or strike insecurity in people just by being yourself. I experienced that too, right? And one thing you have to know is you have to always stay grounded in who you are. Like, we all go out in the world and we have a sense of who we are based on our background, right? And you're always connected to yourself. Um, you want to maintain your original thoughts and your original thinking. And that's another thing that a lot of other groups do. Some people aren't original. And that comes from the validation, the seeking the validation, trying to belong. Some people aren't original. I've seen so many people where they belong to groups and they think based off of what the group thinks. And they start to lose their original thinking because they're afraid if they were to be themselves, that the group wouldn't accept them or they wouldn't find their belonging, right? And it's like, I hated that. Like, I had to find a way to disconnect from that habit, from doing that, and maintaining my originality, because I like it's powerful to be yourself. It's powerful to have your original thoughts. When how you think and what you do and how you dress is based off of the group that you belong to, it's distasteful, it's unattractive, and you lose a lot of your own power that could take you in certain places in your life that you wouldn't be there if you didn't have any originality, right? And I see so many people do that. And I fell victim to that myself, where I feel like I belong to so many different groups. I knew so many people. When I was in the crowd, in the in crowd, around so many people, I felt like I lost myself. Because what happens is a lot of times in social groups, you start to assimilate. Because you can't really maintain who you fully are, who you truly are, being around all these different groups, or else you wouldn't be in the group. You have to kind of assimilate. You have to kind of adopt. You have to kind of like what other people are liking, nod your head to certain things, or you have to at least accept certain things in your life that the group is doing in order to fit into that space. And when you do that, it's a compromise. You compromise some of your values. You compromise some of your original belief systems to belong to these groups, right? And I'm not saying that you can't belong to a group. I'm saying when you're so much in the crowds and always hanging out with this group and that group, and you're always in the in crowd, it's harder to maintain who you are. Because if you maintain who you are and you're sticking to that truth, you're not going to be accepted by everyone. Some people are not going to like you. A lot of groups are not going to accept you because you don't carry their values. You don't carry their beliefs. That's why you find certain cliques that you easily attract to you, because y'all share the same values. You see the world the similar way. So it's easier to develop relationships with some people versus others. But when you're chasing validation, when you want to belong, when you want to fit in, you lose a lot of yourself because you have to compromise some of your beliefs in order to fit into that circle because they believe or they look at the world in a certain way. They have certain habits. They may be doing certain things. They whatever it is, right? They going certain places or doing certain things, or they looking at women in a certain way, or um, if you're the type of person that drink and they don't like to drink, they might look at you like you're a sinner. Or the opposite. If you don't really drink like that and this group, that's all they do every other day, they might look at you like, you know what I mean, like you're not keeping up with them. Right? So you have to, again, but if you're trying to chase validation, you'll compromise those beliefs and you'll adopt what that group is doing so that you can fit in. And when you do that, you lose. You lose yourself. You compromise your values, compromise your beliefs, and to fit in, but you lose so much of yourself, and it's a compromise. You lose in the end, and internally, yet that's how you feel. You kind of feel lost. You'll feel disconnected. You'll feel, it's something bothering you. This doesn't feel right. You know, so when you stay in that, you're gonna lose yourself and become something that you're really not. And it's gonna take work to come back to who you truly are and how you really believe you should be living. And so on my journey, I recognize all this. You know, I saw it. I'm like, damn, like I don't even feel right. Yeah, I have these friends. Yeah, I have these cliques, and you know, I'm connected to people, but I feel like I'm losing myself a little bit. Always being in the crowd, and sometimes you're compromising yourself, doing certain things to belong in certain groups and to fit in. This doesn't feel right. So I have to get back to the point of being myself again, of doing the things that I like doing and finding people that relate to that and building friendships off of that instead of compromise who I am to, you know, fit in with certain groups. So you have to get to a point where you know who you are, you have your values and your beliefs, and you're willing to lose people. A lot of times you put up with certain things because you're afraid to lose people, right? You're afraid to lose friends. You're afraid to lose connections. Some people are afraid to lose followers, right? So they do certain things that aren't in their belief system in order to get likes or views or follows or belong to certain groups or to be in a relationship with a person. A lot of times it doesn't have to always be a group. It can be a person, right? And so again, when you living in that space, you're more controllable. People can control you because they know that you want to belong, you want to be accepted, you want to fit in, you want to be liked, right? And that's an enemy. That mindset is how you become your worst enemy, because now you're being pulled and swayed by the world, but you're not doing what you want to do. You're not moving based off of your belief system and your values. You're moving based off of trying to be accepted into society and belong to a group or be into relationships or to be seen a certain way to get likes and followers or whatever, right? And people respect you more when you stand in your truth and you do what you want to do, right? Because when you move like that and trying to be accepted and liked, you're a follower. But when you stand in your truth and your beliefs, right, and you stay firm in that, now you're seen as a leader. Now you're respected. Now people want to follow you because there's so many people out there that did the same thing, and I didn't realize that. So on my journey, I kind of stood my ground in that. I'm like, nah, this is who I am. This is what I believe in. This is how I think. These are my values. And when you walk around with that without even realizing it, internally that radiates from you. People can sense that about you, that you're strong in your beliefs, that you have that discipline, and you're not going to compromise yourself to belong to different groups because you know who you are. And you radiate confidence, you radiate certainty, you radiate strength, you radiate discipline, right? Like you have a backbone in who you are and you know what you're about and you have your values. That makes a lot of people gravitate towards you, and that happened to me. And so at first I'm like, people are gonna hate me or people are gonna despise me because I'm not following and going along to get along. But when I made the decision to stand in my truth when it came to certain things, and principles and values, that turned me like into a superhuman. I'm attracting people all over the place because people, um, without admitting it, they look for people like that. They look for people that stand up for the truth that they see, because so many other people struggle with that too. Yeah, they want friends, but some of them may not be strong enough to stand in their truth because they don't want to be alone. Because if you're not doing what the group is doing, they're gonna reject you. A lot of people are afraid of being outcasted, socially abandoned, you know what I'm saying? Isolated. A lot of people don't want to be alone. And out of that fear of being alone, they compromise themselves to fit in. And when you stand in your truth and you move how you move, yeah, you're gonna lose a lot of people, but you're gonna find the right people that's for you, that respect that about you, that actually admire and even love that about you, because they struggle with that themselves. And you start to find it's almost like you start to build your own group based off of the principles that you're standing on, right? Standing on business. So that's what I have to do, man. That's why I realize when I'm around all these cliques and groups and around all these people all the time, and yeah, people know you and stuff, but you're not really being who you are. You're actually compromising a lot of who you are in order to fit into these groups and hang around these people all the time, even though you're not about what they're about. You know what I'm saying? So that's what makes you a leader. And yeah, you may be alone for a period of time, but you're really never going to be lonely because you're going to be even more connected to yourself. And that's when you gain self-respect. When you look at yourself in the mirror and you know you're not compromising who you are, you're not, going against your principles. You're not going against what you value. You're not going against how you see the world. You're not going against how you really want to live. When you look at yourself in the mirror and you being honest with yourself with how you're living, you gain self-respect. Now you become self-validated, and you gain a special type of strength. You gain a certain level of confidence that's uncommon, right? Because a lot of people compromise themselves all day, in a relationship, in a social environment, in a work environment. And just because you're in a relationship, that doesn't mean you can't state that boundary of, look, love, we doing X, Y, and Z, but I'm not going to do this. Some people are afraid to establish that boundary because they don't want to lose people. They don't want to lose that person. They don't want to be excluded from the group. They don't want to be the coworker, the difficult coworker, which, you know what I'm saying? That's how people are going to look at you, like you're being difficult. What's wrong with you? Who do you think you are? Right? And you got to be strong. And again, when you stand in your truth, when you know who you are, you can look yourself in the mirror and have respect and have, self-esteem, right? Because after a period of time, you don't want to look back and say, damn, I regret doing this. I regret making all those decisions. You can look back and regret, not standing in your truth, because from that place of, you looking for validation, you have low self-esteem, you want to fit in, and you're willing to compromise yourself to fit in, you make a lot of bad decisions. You lose yourself. You make mistakes. And before you know, you look back, it's like, damn, that's not even me. I was doing things that I wasn't even agreeing with. So it's better to stay grounded in your truth, because it's going to pay off not only in the long run, but in short term as well, just overall, right? And most importantly, like I said, you're going to have yourself. You're going to be able to look at yourself in the mirror. And again, that takes a lot of strength. And looking back at it, like, that's where I fell out with some of my friends too. Like, I fell out with certain people because those qualities about me, that strength about me, rub them off the wrong way. Sometimes your light will disturb the demons that other people are carrying because they didn't do that. They were struggling internally with certain things. So your strength and your light could disturb the insecurities in other people. And that's another reason why sometimes I feel like it was hard for me to fit in. It's not that um, I didn't qualify to be around certain groups. It's just certain groups, they saw in me what I didn't see in myself yet. And they're afraid that if I belong to the group, I might outshine them. And I realized that because it's consistent. Like I experienced like business sabotage. I experienced being sabotaged from people that I've met in my like work environment, like coworkers trying to sabotage my work and my business. So it's a lot of times, again, when you're standing in your truth, you gain a special type of confidence and your light just beams out of you. And when you do come across different groups and you meet people, they notice there's something different about you. They may not be able to tell it right away, but they know there's something different about you. So they don't like what's radiating from you. They don't like the strength and the light and the confidence because they've yet to find that because they're going along to get along. They're being a good guy and a good girl. Not really saying anything, not really standing in their truth because they're afraid to be ostracized or isolated or kicked out of the group. But you never seek to belong when you know you belong to yourself. You never seek to fit in when you accept who you are. You never seek to be accepted and validated when you already like who you are and you got some self-love, right? And on my journey, man, I took a period of time where it's like, nah, why am I going around these different groups and cliques to fit in? Why am I doing that? Why am I kind of you feel like you're going in spaces where some of the people there are showing you that they don't like you or whatever, for whatever reason, like I said. And you gotta reflect. I got to a point where I said these people. But it's not everybody, but it's just certain groups. And when you look in the mirror, you realize how dope you are. And you build that self-respect, right? You gain self-validation. It radiates from you. You accept the right people to you. So one thing I have to say is never hesitate to use the scissors. Never hesitate to cut people off because when you really look at it, especially intuitively, and you know deep down what's going on, you're really cutting off people that really don't even fit into your life. You're releasing people that don't belong there and don't really value you because you're not about what they're about. And that's no problem. That's not a big deal. That's no problem. But you gotta not be hesitant to cut people off because you're really doing it to protect yourself and maintaining your integrity, maintaining your self-respect, right? And again, when you have that ability, when you're not afraid to lose people, people can sense it and it makes them respect you because what makes people respect you is that they're afraid to lose you. They don't want to lose access to you or lose the relationship they have with you because they know you're a special person. If you have that ability to be self-guided, you lead yourself. You don't look for leaders. You don't look for acceptance or validation because you've accepted yourself. That's rare. And at the time, I didn't even realize that's rare. But it's like for me, this stuff will weigh on my mind. Like this compromising myself to fit into these different groups, it would like almost haunt me at night. Like I couldn't, again, you can't sleep. It bothers you internally, but some people live like that and it is what it is for them. But when you want to be empowered, when you want to become the best version of yourself, when you want to free yourself, when you want to really liberate who you are as a person, and you really want to gain that confidence, that's what it's going to have to take. It's standing in your truth, even when it means being rejected by certain groups or losing friends, losing people, losing certain relationships, because you're not really losing them. You're gaining yourself. You're gaining that relationship that you have with you, which is the most important thing. And when you do build relationships, you build it with the right people. You're going to build it with people that love and respect you and value you because that truth in you is going to be so strong and powerful, right? And then some people are going to be uncomfortable with that. Some of your old friends, people that used to know you, they're gonna be like, damn, he changed. Damn, he's standing in his power. She's standing in her power, right? And that's gonna make them uncomfortable because they're not used to you being standing out in that way. They're not used to you shining that bright. They're not used to you being that leader. Um, and you create a new life for yourself. Well, some people may be scary to change, to get out of the group, the cliques, but it's certain things that I just can't tolerate. Certain things I can't go for. It's just my personality. You know, I've always had that fight to me, you know, but that's when you find out who you are. When you're facing those moments where you know it's like a crossroad, right? You know where you want to go in life and you're seeing what everybody else is doing, but at the same time, you gotta be mindful enough to like release certain people because they're not on where you on. They don't carry the same values and habits that you have. And if you maintain being around them, you're gonna lose. It's almost like when successful people or celebrities talk about when they want to go up in life and they know they have to get tighter in terms of like their discipline and how they spend their time and what they're doing on a daily basis, they gotta start to go up. But their friends are still down here doing the same things, thinking the same things, having the same habits. You know, they're still spending their life doing the same things. And if they want to stay connected to their friends, they might have to come down, but they lose. So in order for everybody to win, their friends have to come up to their level in terms of values, how they spend their time, the discipline. Yeah, they're gonna have to come up to their level in order for them to maintain that relationship. And I got tired of lowering myself. I got tired of lowering myself, lowering my values, lowering my habits. I got tired because I'm not lazy, but you spending time around a lot of lazy people. I don't like to waste time, but you're around people that just waste time, just smoking all day in the dorms or playing basketball all day. I love hooping though, but you just around people that's wasting time doing the same things that you know isn't aligned with your goals and where you're trying to go in your career, or in your life and just in general. And you maintain those relationships, you're gonna lose, right? But sometimes those relationships feel so comfortable because you grew up with some of these people. You knew these people for so long. They might be really likable. A lot of these people ain't bad people, and not that people are bad. They might be really likable, right? And so you want to maintain those relationships, but you know if you continue to be around them all the time, you're gonna lose because you're losing time. You're losing the skills that you could be developing to get to where you want to get to, right? You're losing in terms of financially because some of these people just be spending money and wasting money, right? So you're falling behind from your goals by maintaining relationships with people that you don't want to lose. And then you're going to lose yourself. And then you're going to be mad at yourself, mad at them because you've been wasting time with them. So it's better to just stand on business, to stand in your truth, do what you know you need to do to be where you need to be in life. And if certain people that you're around are doing things that you're not comfortable with or you're not agreeing with, you got to stand in that truth. And that's when you become a leader. That's when you transform. And that's when you're going to find the right people. You might lose a lot of those old people, but you're going to find the right people. All right. So, like I said, man, when I stepped into that energy, I found a whole nother side of myself that I wasn't even aware of. And I walk with my chest high, my head, my chest out of my head up. And I started to gain even more confidence, right? Now you're the person that people want to be around instead of trying to chase and be around people. Now you're the leader, right? And I attracted so many clients to me that way, so many relationships that way, so many opportunities that way, because the people are attracted to that strength. They're attracted to that self-authoritative, that leader-like is really a star qualities, because stars don't seek to fit in. They stand out. They lead, right? So Yeah, this is about getting to a point where you stop trying to fit in with society, where you stop following people, you start leading yourself. You become a leader, you become self-authoritative. You really gain a special type of confidence about yourself and self-respect, right? And you're gonna take that with you for the rest of your life. And again, the most important thing is just looking yourself in the mirror and being good with you, because you're not compromising yourself to fit in with anybody, right? When you do that, you lose. And I remember so many people that did that and they've lost. They lost so much in their lives. And it's like, you look back, it's like, damn. And I don't wish bad on anybody, but I see where following and trying to fit in and try to look certain ways. And I know so many dudes that's not even hood, trying to be hood, trying to be down, trying to get the neck tattoos, the face tattoos, trying to look a certain way and be a certain way. And then they end up not being where they want to be in life, right? They end up in some tragic situations. And I look back, it's like, damn, I'm glad I stood in my truth. I'm glad I'm not walking around trying to be something that I'm not to try to impress people, you know? So that's where you become self-validated. When you stop seeking validation from the world, you start validating yourself. You find the right people, and actually made me more successful in what I've been doing as a fitness trainer, even acting and modeling, and, even in relationships, like finding people, a lot of people I find people just drawn to me out of nowhere. A lot of people are just drawn to me. They tell me I have good energy. Again, these things radiate from you. The confidence radiates from you. It makes people gravitate towards you because now you're the lead. You're the leader. You're not following the crowd. You're not following society. You're leading the way, right? So stop trying to, chase validation. Stop trying to be accepted if that's you. Lead yourself, right? Be self-governing. Have sovereignty, right? Because it makes you a more respectable and formidable person in the world. It makes you qualified to be a leader. It makes you qualified to have that relationship with a woman if you're a man. It makes you more respectable if you're a lady, right? And you just create better opportunities for yourself because people can see and sense you have those strong qualities about you. So that's it for the video today, man. I just want to chop it up with you guys and talk real quick about this. Don't seek validation from the world. Validate yourself, because the world, people could like you one day and hate you the next day. People could dislike you for no reason, even though you didn't do anything to them. They could be jealous or whatever. But the most important thing is that you look at yourself in the mirror and like yourself. Suicide has been high in men, especially, even in black men. And I think that's one of the key points that a lot of people are missing, and that's why these things are happening. Because people are alone, and when they come home, they're alone, and they got to look themselves in the mirror. And if you don't like who you are, if you don't respect who you are, those internal problems could build up and build up and build up, and one day that could lead to you making bad decisions or just losing it. So the way I got grounded, the way I became grounded is just standing in my truth and not compromising that to fit in with any groups, and developing a stronger relationship with myself, right? And just standing in my truth. So now when you look in the mirror, you go with you. You don't need the validation or love or acceptance from the world because you're giving it to yourself. You're validating yourself. You're affirming yourself. You're liking and loving who you are. And I think that's missing from a lot of people, and that's why a lot of those problems happen, unfortunately. So let me know what you think about the video. Let me know your personal experience with, growing up and socializing and finding yourself, right? And let me know if this video helped you. See y'all later, man. Peace.